So now we're going to get into the next piece, which is something called multi-selection, which we've already talked about in the previous module. And remember, this gives us infinite choices. Before, we were stuck with either one choice or two choices. What you see on the screen right now is that idea of two choices, an if-else statement. And the syntax for an if-else statement is exactly the same as an if-else statement, except we're going to add a few extra steps. And those few extra steps are going to occur right in between here. So we're just going to move this down. What we see is we've created a gap. So our first step is to check that first test scenario. If test 1 is true, then do the code inside. Our final step says if the test case failed, then run the code in this final step down here. So what goes in between? Well, this is where the infinite choices comes into play. So I'm going to give you a few examples. So what we do here is we say else if, two words, test 2. And this is going to be code that runs, and this is a key, when test 2 is true and all above tests are false. This is the key right here. All above tests are false. We can close our bracket here. And we can add as many of these else ifs as we want. And again, it's the same process. And again, we can have as many as we want. We could have 50 million of them if we really wanted to, although that'd be kind of silly. But that is an option that we have. And again, it would be the exact same thing. Code that runs when test 3 is true and all above tests are false. So what that means is if we break it down, that means that the code will only ever run one valid code depending on which test case passed first. Now notice the way that's said, which test case passed first. It's possible that multiple tests will be true. So what it's going to do is it's going to go into the first one that it evaluates to be true. So let's say, for example, both test 1 and test 3 were true. As the code executes from top to bottom, it's going to do test 1. It's going to find that test is true. So it's going to run in, it's going to go in and do the code right inside here. When it's done running that code, it'll essentially skip over the rest of the if statement, the if-else if statement, and go on with the rest of the program. Get rid of that. If this test failed, it would then test test 2. And if that one succeeded, it would go inside, run the code, and then skip the rest of the code in here. So what you need to pull out of this is that when our code is executing, we'll only ever go into one test scenario at a time. So it'll test each one sequentially. It'll only ever go into one. And once it's gone into one, it skips all the other tests. Why? It doesn't need to go into them. It's already been in one. So all those tests will be skipped, and it goes in the first one. The else case down here at the bottom, it's important to realize that this is actually optional, just like it is in the if-else code. If we didn't have the else, it would just be an if statement. Here we could do the exact same thing. We could get rid of that safety net. It doesn't have to be there. If your code doesn't require it, it doesn't belong. Just get rid of it. Don't leave it blank or just say just in case. Get rid of it and put it in there when you do need it. Right, so the else is actually optional. And again, just like before, you'll notice that the else has no test expression, no brackets or anything like that. It's just the keyword all by itself, because again, it means whatever is left over. So for example, if we tested test 1, test 2, and test 3, else tests anything else. So for example, if all of those evaluated to false, then you would definitely go into the code that was in the else code. So that's the general syntax of an if-else statement. So now we're going to go through an example in the next module so you can actually see it in action, because it's a little bit more cumbersome when we actually see it.